Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned in to the review of Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episode 3. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when I post these videos. Okay, so let's jump in. This week's episode was interesting, okay? Let's just kind of jump in because my mind is everywhere. They all spent their night together, so they got the whole wedding over with. They had their night together. No one consummated, even though we were kind of on the fence with who would. But they all have really good energy together. And like I said, I don't watch the previews, so I don't see what's coming up. I'm sure there's going to be something coming up, but so far so good. They seem really happy with each other. Who surprises me is Jamie and Elizabeth, because Jamie is kind of tight. You know, he is very strategic and very one note in how he kind of presents. He's funny. I really like him, but you know, I thought that his way of kind of being would really be frustrated by Jamie or by Elizabeth, but I think that he really likes, I'm surprised to see that he really likes her. I didn't even think he would be attracted to her. I don't know why. She just didn't seem like his type. But he is really attracted to her. They're all really attracted to each other and are very happy. So that's really good to see. This season was the first time that we saw the brunch with the families happen the next day separately, which I really, really liked. I really liked that instead of the couple getting together with both families, you know, the one aspect of the couple got together with the spouse's family and vice versa. It was really cool because it's a different way of interacting. I think it's a little more pressure filled, to be honest, but I think it's more authentic. And let's just talk with you. Like, we've not met you before. We saw you yesterday. We met you at the altar when our family member met you. We haven't been able to really speak to you. Talking at the wedding doesn't even count. I don't even remember talking to people at my wedding. It's chaos. You're just kind of trying to talk to as many people as you can talk to. So the fact that, you know, Iris was able to meet with Keith's parents and Keith was able to meet with her parents and vice versa with all the couples, I really enjoyed seeing that. I think that's one of the best changes that I've seen in the series, and I think that's a really beneficial one, so that they can really get to know that person one-on-one without their spouse and that. So let's kick it off with just Jamie and Elizabeth, because that one, you know, that one is the most alarming to me of last night. So the families get together for brunch. Elizabeth, you know, is a ball of energy. She gets together with his family. They talk, and it goes over really well. Jamie's experience, not so much. I think Jamie handled himself very well because Elizabeth's father is out of pocket, man. Elizabeth's father is inappropriate. He has this very unhealthy attachment to his daughter, almost as if he's like the first man. And that's cute when she's 5, because you are the first man, you know, daddy's girl. But they give me a vibe, or he gives me a vibe that's beyond like daddy's girl. Like, you know, you have to now make room for the spouse, and that dynamic is really important. The dynamic with, you know, parent and child, and then the dynamic with now the spouse and the parent, because yes, that spouse is taking the place essentially of you in terms of being the number one so-and-so, the number one woman, the number one man in whoever's life. But that's okay, because you as a parent are not meant to hold that place forever. You're not meant to be their companion forever. That's not your job. And I feel like when he was talking to Jamie, Elizabeth's dad was being very passive aggressive. He was being kind of like, almost like sticking it to him in a little bit. And I think Jamie handled himself well. And I think he did the best he could given the short amount of time. I think if it was a different time that he had known him, then he could have challenged him back. And I think that Jamie is going to need to challenge her father, because her father will respect that. Her father's very A-type. He's not going to respect if Jamie is too easygoing and kind of lets him call the shots, or lets him like kind of throw darts at their situation. Like Jamie's gonna have to throw a dart back, and I would totally respect that. Jamie's gonna have to challenge him and push back, and this just has to happen. If people don't know how to really transition into that role effectively, then you have to teach them. Same thing would go with a mom, you know. I think the transition with Iris and Keith's mom, I'm jumping around, but whatever, that went okay. But in the event that Keith's mom kind of jumped in and, you know, did something else, you know, besides telling her virginity, but did something else where it should have been Iris, then Iris will have to address that and kind of challenge that in a way, respectfully, of course, always, but in a way that lets you know, okay, I can do this. This is not necessarily your place. And that's really sticky, you guys. Like, that's never an easy thing. Parents aren't really easy to deal with in that way, you know, because that connection to parent and child, it's a very strong one. So sometimes they really struggle with getting out of the way. And it's not that you're not there anymore. You're just not there in the way that you were there. And, you know, it's hard for a parent to play second fiddle. And that's just what it is. So we see Jamie really handle himself well with a dynamic that wasn't that great. You know, we go from Elizabeth spending time with his family and people are laughing and they're welcoming and welcome to the family, and then he's like in a basement or something. I don't know where they were having lunch, but he was like down below. And another thing, has anybody really realized that Elizabeth's mother says nothing? Like, I forget she's there, even though she's right there. She didn't say anything when they were being matched. She was at that 30th party, you know, in the first episode before they got married. She was standing there. She didn't say anything. It's like the Elizabeth and Dad show. Mom says nothing. I don't know if Mom said anything during the lunch. If she did, it wasn't memorable. So that dynamic is interesting to me. You know, I wonder if Mom even plays second fiddle to Daddy's girl, because it's like she's not even there. But I think they will struggle. I saw Jamie kind of progressed throughout the beginning of the honeymoon. They all went to their honeymoon in Antigua, and he chose not to tell Elizabeth, because of course they talked about it. Like, how was lunch with my parents? Every couple talked about it, and he didn't bring it up. And I think at first I wanted him to, but I'm like, this will show up again because this is who her dad is. And I think he didn't want it to ruin their experience that they're about to have. So I think that was a very smart thing that he did, not sharing that with her and just kind of moving along, because it's kind of jarring, but it's like, okay, this is the beginning. Like, and I'm going to put this in the back of my mind that this is something that I'm going to have to deal with. But for now, let me enjoy my honeymoon. Let me get to know this person that I married, and vice versa. We see, you know, him and Elizabeth have a good time so far. They only have like one night so far. They really are not fully immersed into the honeymoon. They all kind of get into their suites. I'm pretty sure Jamie and Elizabeth consummated their marriage because they have a lot of sexual energy, and she's not shy about it at all. I think that's a fly. She's not shy about it at all. She, you know, lets it be known that she's very sexual. She comes out in a nightie, that they have to blur things out. So she's in it to win it. So we will see at least Jamie and Elizabeth get along in that way. But so far so good with the two of them and with their families. So moving on, we have Deonna and Greg. Deonna and Greg, does Greg remind y'all of Will from last season? Because I keep seeing that. His very like tight, almost like, I wouldn't say he's not confident, but there's something that limits him from like being like super free. And that just might be who he is. He seems to be like very regimented in some ways. He's hilarious though. He has a great humor, very sarcastic, similar to Will as well. But I think he's like really happy to be with Deonna. He handled himself well because Deonna's dad was not, I wouldn't say he was bad, but he was very like, what are your intentions with my daughter? All these things that you would normally ask that he didn't get a chance to ask before. I think Greg handled himself well. And the dad was great. He said, you know, you have my phone number. You have my email. We are here for you as a resource and as help. And so I think he's great. I really like him together. Deonna's cool as well. I still think she's going to struggle. Last night when he was kind of making jokes or saying things, there's this wall that she has, and it shows up as like sarcasm, and it shows up as, you know, kind of being funny or putting him off a little bit. But she, to me, seems more guarded than Iris is. And I would assume, and we would all assume, that because Iris is, you know, inexperienced, that she would be more guarded. But Iris seems to be more open and free in terms of just like, I don't know, being comfortable with her spouse. And Deonna seems to be very guarded in some ways, even though she's making jokes. She's saying, you know, it's weird to like brush your teeth in front of someone, even though she said she's comfortable with that. But he's watching her because, you know, he doesn't know what to do. He's standing there and like watching her, and she's like, this is weird, and these things are weird. And she's like, even her body language is very tight. Like, she's in the bed and she's like, you know, she should have just put a body pillow in between them. And he's just kind of going with the flow, of course, you know, because he's a good guy. But I hope she loosens up a little bit, and I hope that the kind of like the sarcastic jabs don't turn into more, simply because she hasn't really had that dance with someone in a while. And she talks about it, you know, so we know that that's going to show up where she's going to really have to learn to navigate just day to day with someone. That is difficult when you know someone sometimes. So really learning how to navigate with him, and being comfortable and not using the 10 years as an excuse not to get in the game. Like, I don't remember what she said, you know, last night, but I saw her walking through a door saying something like, well, you know, it's been 10 years. And I'm thinking, okay, well, regardless, you're now married. So let's not use this 10 years thing as the reason why you can't go with the flow and why you can't move forward, because then you shouldn't have done the experiment. So I'm going to say it early. I hope that she does not let her lack of interactions cause her to be intentionally slow when, you know, in a different phase of time, she could just move quicker and like relying on the crutch that is the 10 years. That's my only concern. But that's like looking beyond what we saw. If we saw last night, she was fine and they had a good time. So yeah, that is Greg. And she got along well with Greg's parent. Well, no, it was his mom and I believe his sister. She got along well with him, with them. And, you know, it was easy peasy for the two of them. So that is Greg and Deonna. Our next couple we have is Keith and Iris. Keith and Iris, they're so cute to me. I really love them. Like, if I had to like pick two people and just put them together, they would be them. And, you know, they had a big moment last night where they talked about, well, she asked him, do you have any secrets that you want to tell your wife? Like something that no one else would know. And I think that was a great setup for her. I wouldn't call it her secret, but her information that she needed to share. And he says, no, do you? And he knows because mama told her, but, you know, or told him, but he knows. And she shares it with him. And his response was perfection. Okay. Because he already knows. And at first, once again, I kind of wanted to say my mom told me, but I feel like that will come up anyways. I think he was just trying to be respectful in the moment, and at some point they'll discuss that, but didn't want the moment to be marred by, oh, I already knew, and now it turns into this other conversation. He also wanted her to be comfortable. And I think what was so great about him is that he handed the ball back to her. He tossed the ball back to her. So tell me why this is so important to you. Tell me a little bit about it. Tell me your thoughts and your feelings. That created a level of engagement that took the pressure off of him, because he probably didn't know what to say, to be honest. It's, you know, it's hard, especially if that's not what you've interacted with. And I know a lot of men are afraid of that because that's a lot of responsibility. And it also allowed him to get to know her, because now she can speak about the space that she comes from in regard to, you know, her thoughts and her faith and why it was so important to her. So I think he handled that beautifully, and she's going to be more comfortable. She already is, but she's going to be more comfortable with the way that he handled that. And she will be more willing to move at her own pace, which can be quicker than we all assume, because he's not forcing her or not making her feel any type of negative way for being who she is, because that's who she is, you know, beyond the scope of the word virginity. This is who she is. This is what's important to her. That these are the things she abides by. This is how she presents in life, and shunning that would be shunning her, not necessarily just that particular thing. So yeah, so they also, had a good time with each other's families. It was a little moment because when Keith met with her parents, the mom is lovely and so talkative and always smiling and excited. And the dad, the music stopped playing when the dad started talking to him, but he handled himself well, and his dad you can tell that they're very close to Iris. So her dad wanted to really get in there and once again ask those questions that he wasn't able to ask, and at least get a little idea, just a small picture of who he is, because his daughter's now with him, and it's very emotional for him. As we saw at the wedding, he had a complete breakdown because it was a lot to deal with, and that's just not something easy. You're handing someone over to someone else, and life can be crazy and life can be dangerous, and it's scary. Beyond this experiment, it's scary. So you want to know that this person is a good person who will look out for your child. So I think they did great. Iris came in super bubbly, super funny. His parents are super funny. I thought it was hilarious when his mother said, "Do you want an Adderall?" They're talking about triggers when they're stressed, and it was just funny because she said she's all over the place, and she said that. So I think they had a very warm and inviting situation, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. So last but not least, we have Matt and Jamie. Matt and Jamie also are all over each other. They are really into each other. They're really happy to be together. Matt is excited to, I think, recreate what he feels like his parents had before everything went downhill. And he is really so committed, you can see, to not do what they did. But the thing is, they were married for 20 something years, and then things just didn't work out for whatever reason. I don't know if we'll ever get that story, but Matt is really committed to kind of finding his peace and happiness and overcome kind of what's been happening in the last couple of years through this marriage. So I hope that he bonds with this marriage as it is, not necessarily as and I think he's really intentionally good, but I hope that it doesn't become something that he's fighting for because of that, because that's kind of trailing him. And we started to get into it a little bit more the first night, or maybe the first morning. Jamie said, "Why weren't your parents there?" And we still didn't get a lot of information. He said that he hadn't spoken to his dad in 2 years, and he wanted to tell his mom, but he didn't. And with the way things were, he didn't really want them to, cause any issues. So what I deduced from that was, if these people were there would have been a drama-filled situation which would have ruined his day. That seems to make sense to me more than anything, because I'm like, okay, I think he has siblings. I'm wondering why no one is there. But obviously there's something so crazy going on that he was not comfortable with having them be there. So there's that. You can see she's not put off, but her wheels are turning with, okay, I need more information. But this experiment is such a dichotomy, because one moment it's like, we're married, and so we're married and all bets are on. But then it's like, I just met you, so we can't really play by the traditional rules of what being married is and give me your all, because the first morning after I met you yesterday is a lot of information to take on with family stuff. That stuff will come out, but we got to get a little bit of peace about it yesterday. Clearly there would just be something that went too wrong for him to invite them. He meets with her family. I don't know if that's her stepmom, but her stepmom definitely was like the alpha in that conversation and talked mostly and said how they felt. But it's good to see how the three of them, her dad, her stepmom, I believe, and her mom kind of came together, because at the end of the day, we all care about Jamie, despite whatever we have going on, and she has a family unit that really cares about her. And I think it's important that people know you come from a group of people who really care for you, will go to bat for you. And there are consequences if you treat them poorly. So they came united, and he had a good time with her. They asked about his mom. Everybody kind of asked about that yesterday. And we kind of got the same lukewarm answer, because he didn't really want to go into it. But he said, he was very close to his family. Family is really important to him, and he's hoping that in the near future they'll be able to open that door back up. So he's hurting, and he's kind of trying to move along, and I think we'll get bits and pieces as we go. Jamie met with his friends, which was cool. I mean, and she took it in stride. She said, I really wish I would have met with his family, but it's good to get to know more of him. And so she basically, they gave her lemons. She made lemonade. Not that his friends are lemons, but the ideal situation is to meet the family, and she was looking at it as a way of, okay, well, I didn't meet the family, but I met friends, and they can give me some insight, more insight than I would have right now, which was great. His friends, asked great questions. Why do you think you were single up until this point? I thought it was a beautiful lunch, and it was easy going. They seemed to get along very well, and that is pretty much my spiel for last night's episode. I think energetically, and I said this in the first episode, energetically, this season is refreshing. I know the drama is to come, because what would it be if it's not reality TV drama? But, it's refreshing. It feels new. I don't necessarily think that the matches are all perfect, but I like to take it all in stride, and I like to watch episode by episode and go based off of that before my wheels get turning and then I end up somewhere else. So for now, so far, so good. Let me know what you guys thought. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and I will see you guys next week. Everyone have a great week.